Why is the U.S., under President Trump, who, of course, has put forward this America First mandate, so invested in Argentina and its economy?
It's a real mystery to an awful lot.
Why would Trump be giving $40 billion to Argentina, which we don't do barely any trading with them? What? And this guy says, well, it's a mystery.
Is it?
It is not a mystery. I have the answer. Donald Trump originally he was going to give $20 billion to Argentina, and now it's $40 billion.
Oh, thank God.
It's kind of ironic because we put sanctions on socialist countries like Cuba and Venezuela to try to crush their economy, and then we have to give billions and billions of dollars to bail out what we consider to be libertarian capitalist economies. Isn't that weird? Or else they're going to completely just crumble. Wait a minute. I thought how that seems to be contradictory. I thought socialism was the bad thing and capitalism always wins, but it can't win without a bailout from the United States. And wait till you find out exactly why Donald Trump is giving this bailout. It will piss you off.
It has, yes.
Yes. So Trump Secretary Scott Bessent just doubled the bailout of Argentina's Javier Milei to $40 billion. U.S. taxpayers are paying heavily for the failures of a foreign con man who's decimated his country's currency, sold off its assets, and fronted for 3 massive meme coin rug pulls. This is really happening.
3?
Yes.
He did 3 rug pulls.
Yes.
That's more than Hawk Tuah, Jimmy.
Yes. U.S. could double the aid for Argentina to $40 billion, according to media. So let's listen to this media report.
There are media outlets reporting that Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, has outlined financial aid to that country that would total $40 billion. For more, let's bring in Bloomberg's Mike McKee. Mike, from what we understand, are there conditions tied to this? Are there strings attached to up to $40 billion of aid from the United States to Argentina?
No. I'm just going to, spoiler alert, there's nothing. So this money is gone. So as soon as this $40 billion goes out the door, it's gone. We're never getting it back, ever. And Trump knows this. And so does everybody. If I know it, that means everybody. Because that's the whole point of this show. If I can figure it out, they know it. So let's hear what he says.
Well, the administration hasn't made a whole lot clear about any of this yet, Scarlett. We don't even know about the original $20 billion, whether it's a true swap line where they give us pesos and we lend them dollars and then we exchange them back eventually. And now Scott Bessent is talking about a $20 billion private fund made up of individual investors, and he says sovereign wealth funds that would be interested in buying Argentine debt or making investments in Argentina.
So the first $20 billion comes directly from the U.S. Treasury. We print it. We send it to Argentina. Why can't I say that name of that country today? Argentina. As opposed to sending, $20 billion to Detroit or to California or Texas or Florida or anywhere. We just send it to another country. Again, just like we've been doing forever. We don't send money to our own country to fix our country. We send money to other countries. Why? You're going to find out in a second. So the first $20 billion coming right from the U.S. government, meaning you. The second $20 billion is going to come from private investor, or like private banks and stuff like that, but only on the condition that the U.S. government backs it up, meaning when they don't get their money back, which they're not going to, the United States will then give those bankers the $20 billion that they gave Argentina. That's what's hacks. So when they say, well, we're going to get private funding for the second $20 billion, they're only going to get it because the United States government is going to give them their money back when that money goes down a sewer. Because that's exactly what's happening. So just so you know, so the United States is basically giving them $40 billion, not 20, but $40 billion. And so what this is on the off chance that Argentina pays back that $20 billion to those private investors, they get to keep the profits because they're not giving them the money for free. Of course, there's interest and all that stuff. So they have to pay that money back with interest. So they get profits from giving them that money, meaning the private banks. But if they lose, if Argentina doesn't pay back that money, which they're not going to, they also don't lose. How could that be? Because the United States government is going to give them that money. So this is how capitalism works if you're a super wealthy bank. You privatize all the gains and you then socialize the losses, just like during the 2008 banking crash. They got to make all the money that they made through that through that scheme where they turned banks into casinos. And then when the market crashed, they didn't have to pay any of the losses. The government came in and gave them money. So they privatized. So this is just as how crony capitalism works. This is end stage capitalism. What you're seeing is they privatize the profits and they socialize the losses. So you don't get to do that. If you make an investment, if you open up a hot dog stand and it crashes, the government doesn't give you the money that you lost. No, but it will if you're super rich bank, it will. And that's exactly what's happening here. Okay, back to this.
That's all we know at this point. And of course, the idea of somebody spending $20 billion to buy bonds in Argentina, given Argentina's track record of paying it back, they already owe billions, tens of billions to the IMF, seems a little fanciful. So we're not exactly sure.
Yeah, the reason why they're willing to do that is because Trump said the government is going to give you that money that you're about to lose. Because they have a $60 billion debt with the IMF. Argentina does. They're not paying that back. They're not paying this back. And why do you think Trump is doing this? Well, hang on.
Sure how all of this is going to work.
And I'm so glad you bring up Argentina's track record of paying back loans, or perhaps its spotty track record here. Why is the U.S., under President Trump, who, of course, has put forward this America First mandate, so invested in Argentina and its economy?
It's a real mystery to an awful lot.
Why would Trump be giving $40 billion to Argentina, which we don't do barely any trading with them? What?
Yeah.
What? And this guy says, well, it's a mystery.
Is it?
It is not a mystery. I have the answer. So I know more about this than Mr. Bloomberg does. But let's listen to the rest of his story.
Of people, because
let's listen to the rest of his answer.
It's a real mystery to an awful lot of people because the Argentines have had a very bad track record, as you note, in paying back loans. They've defaulted any number of times, and there's some thought that they're not on the right path right now. They've got an election coming up, and if President Milei's party doesn't get a big enough vote in the legislative elections, then he's not going to be able to push through his reforms. And the president says, that, of course, then we're not going to give him any aid at all. That sent the peso back lower, and the U.S. intervened in currency markets again today, Scott Bessent said. But why? That's a really good question. A lot of Americans are asking that question, particularly farmers, because China's been buying Argentine soybeans instead of U.S. soybeans, and that's one of the reasons the soybean farmers are in trouble. So we don't really know. There's some speculation that what's happened is a lot of U.S. hedge fund managers who are friends with Scott Bessent bought up Argentine debt on the cheap, anticipating.
Oh, it turns out he does know. It turns out he does know why Trump is doing this. Because there's lots of billionaire hedge fund managers that are friends with Scott Bessent. Remember, Scott Bessent was George Soros' right-hand man. Scott Bessent, Trump's Secretary of the Treasury, was George Soros' right-hand man. And it's a big club and you ain't in it.
Yeah.
So he knows why Trump is doing this, so he could bail out his hedge fund billionaires' friends who are right-hand men with George Soros. It's a big club, so let's listen. So he does know. Let me back it up a little, just so you get another running start at this.
U.S. hedge fund managers who are U.S. hedge fund managers who are friends with Scott Bessent bought up Argentine debt on the cheap, anticipating that maybe there would be a turnaround there and they could make some money on it. And this is an effort to try to get them whole. The problem with that, of course, is that would be kind of illegal, and it certainly would reflect very badly on the administration. So it's kind of hard to believe that either.
It's real. It's hard to believe that the government would do something corrupt monetarily. Yeah. You gotta be kidding me. The whole Pentagon budget is illegal. They don't even know where that money goes. And Trump gave them $200 billion more, even though they can't pass an audit. So that's just $200 billion that is completely illegal graft going into the pockets of who knows? We don't even know because we can't audit it. So this guy's like, I can't believe that's true because that would be illegal. Okay. I think he was trying to be funny, maybe. Hopefully because this is exactly what's happening. Trump's Argentina bailout enriches one well-connected billionaire. Are you kidding me? Wait. Last week, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced a $20 billion package to rescue the Argentinian economy. The risky taxpayer finance deal, which involves trading U.S. dollars for Argentinian pesos, has little upside for ordinary Americans. How about no upside? Argentina is not a significant U.S. trading partner, and its economy, long in turmoil, has little impact on the United States. However, Bessent's announcement had massive economic benefits for one American billionaire, hedge fund manager Rob Citron, who has placed large bets on the future of the Argentine economy. So what he did was he bought all the bonds and all this stuff, kind of investment into the Argentine economy when Milei got elected. And now Milei is completely ruining their economy, even worse than it was, selling off their assets, privatizing all this stuff that he shouldn't be, and screwing over everybody. And the poverty rate is skyrocketing. The inflation rate is skyrocketing. So now all these capitalists are losing their ass. So this guy's going to lose all the billions he put into Argentina. And so they get the government. He calls up Scott Bessent, the guy who's the secretary. So he said, hey, we need a bailout or else I'm going to lose my ass. So the United States goes, okay, we'll give you $40 billion. Okay, sounds good. Not my money. And that's why they're doing this. Because Citron made Bessent a lot of money when they were all working with George Soros. That's why.
Yeah, I'll bet they're in some fraternities together as well.
I bet they are. I bet they held an egg in their ass together. I bet they did the elephant walk. You know what that is?
Oh my, yes.
Yes. Anyway, Citron, the co-founder of Discovery Capital Management, is also a friend and former colleague of Bessent. No kidding. Huh. A fact that has not been previously reported in the American media outlets. No kidding. Citron, by his own account, helped make Bessent very wealthy. So Bessent owes Citron all these favors. And so now he's doing it. He's going to give him $40 billion bailout to Argentina. Isn't that weird that Argentina, super capitalist, super libertarian, super slash government spending, privatize everything, and then their economy goes bankrupt? Isn't that interesting?
Well, you know what else is weird? I can't believe that Javier Milei, the winner of the 2025 Jewish Nobel Prize.
That's right.
The Genesis Prize. Maybe convert, maybe not to Chabad Lubavitch, and hiding Israeli war criminals in Argentina right now.
That's right.
I'll bet you there's one hand's washing the other in a lot of ways.
Oh, they're 100%, Kurt. I'm 100%. So because he's completely subservient to Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, Milei is 100%, even worse than Trump, if that's possible.
You know, I could see Israel saying, "Hey, Argentina hid those Nazis, so we're gonna place a president and steal all their goddamn money they have left."
That's what they did.
That'd be a little more justified than what they're doing.
It seems like that's what they did. I can't be sure. Since Javier Milei, a right-wing populist, became president of Argentina in December of 2023, Citron has invested heavily in Argentina. Citron has bought Argentina debt and purchased equity in numerous Argentinian companies that are closely tied to the performance of the overall economy. Due to Argentina's massive debt load and chaotic economic history, in 2023, Argentina's inflation rate was over 200%. Citron purchased Argentine bonds with an interest rate of nearly 20%. Citron has declined to detail exactly how much of the $2.8 billion he manages is invested in Argentina. In early September, days before Bessent announced that he was going to give them $20 billion, Citron went back and purchased more bonds from Argentina before Bessent even announced that he was going to bail them out. So again, this is corruption at the highest level. But again, when you're a bank, when you're a hedge fund manager, it's not corruption. It's just how people do business. And here's an update. hedge fund billionaire, press treasury secretary for Argentina bailout. Argentine media. So even in Argentina, they know that Scott Bessent and the Trump administration are doing this as a favor to at least to this hedge fund manager, Citron. At least to that. Let's listen. On September 24th, they gave him the $20 billion package. It was a dramatic move to bail out a country that has little economic impact on the United States. Argentinian President Milei is scheduled to meet at the White House later this month. On Monday, Popular Information revealed that taxpayer-funded bailout had massive economic benefits for hedge fund billionaire Rob Citron, a personal friend and former colleague of Bessent. Citron's fund, Discovery Capital, had bet heavily in Argentina, purchasing Argentine debt, equity. We know this. His investment reflects his belief that Milei's right-wing economic program, which emphasizes deregulation and sharply reduced government spending, would revitalize the Argentine economy. It didn't. That theory began to unravel as growth slowed, unemployment spiked, and Milei's popularity has tanked. So he's set to lose this election right now because Milei is super unpopular now in Argentina because all his ideas have failed. And it's the theory that cutting government spending, privatizing everything, and screwing over, it's not helping. Screwing over workers, slashing all their social programs, it's unraveling. This spring, Citron reportedly urged Bessent to help Milei secure a separate $20 billion package from the IMF. The IMF funds began to arrive in April, but proved insufficient to turn. So they already got the $20 billion from the IMF. That didn't help. So now they got to give him another $20 billion, and they're doing it. Now they're giving him $40 billion. On top of that $20 billion, that's $60 billion in debt they're never paying off.
What hedge fund was this?
Because it said it twice already.
I forgot it though because I was so focused on this.
It's Discovery Capital.
So here's my question: is that the guy's personal investment, or did he invest the hedge fund into it, and that's why?
I'm going to guess it's his hedge fund. So concerns turned into panic after Milei's party was routed in Buenos Aires provincial election. So his party, he's super unpopular. His party's unpopular because his plans aren't working. The country's economy is collapsing to the point where he needs $60 billion bailout.
I said give him a chance and see what happens, and we saw what happened. So now's the time to tell the truth about it.
So fueling fears that Milei would soon lose control of the economic agenda. So they don't want Milei to lose control of the economic agenda in Argentina, because then private companies wouldn't be able to go in and steal everything from their country. And that's what they're afraid of. This is just like what they want to do in Venezuela. They want to kick out Maduro so they can put in a puppet so American economic hitmen can come in and privatize everything in the country and steal their oil. That's what we've done forever. They're
doing as bad as Venezuela, these assholes.
There's a book called
doing as bad.
Yes, they're doing worse than Venezuela in Argentina. They're doing worse than Cuba in Argentina. Keep that in mind. And we're sanctioning the hell out of Cuba and Venezuela, but we're doing the exact opposite in Argentina. We have to bail them out. So let me go back to this. Investors began dumping the peso and liquidating other Argentine assets, which spelled major trouble for Citron's hedge fund. Major Argentine media outlets are now reporting that Citron asked Bessent for a United States rescue package. Ariel Maciel, political economy editor at Perfil, a large Argentine media outlet, wrote that after Buenos Aires elections, Citron returned to his friend and former colleague to request a second bailout. This time from the very coffers Bessent manages, the U.S. Treasury. So his first one came from the IMF. They're not paying it back. Second one comes directly from the United States Treasury, which is your taxpayer money. CE notices Financial, a major wire service in Latin America, similarly reported that after Argentine officials ran into resistance with lower-level Trump officials, Citron managed to connect with Bessent to get him to intervene directly. So the people who were lower level in Trump's administration said no, but then the guy at the top of the Treasury Department, Bessent, who is the right-hand man, used to be the right-hand man for George Soros, says yes. So, but Maciel elaborated on his reporting during an appearance on Net TV. Citron is really the one who intervenes. He basically tells Bessent, your Secretary of the Treasury, Trump's Secretary of the Treasury, former right-hand man to George Soros, this guy tells Bessent, hey, we need help in Argentina. Popular Information contacted Discovery Capital and asked if the reports that Citron asked Bessent to bail out Argentina were accurate. Discovery Capital declined to comment. Maciel also noted that 2 weeks before Bessent announced the bailout, Citron purchased additional bonds for almost nothing. Maciel said that timing of Citron's recent purchase has raised suspicions that Citron had access to confidential information. What would that confidential information be? That confidential information would be that Bessent told him, we're going to give a bailout to Argentina, so go ahead and buy more of their bonds because we're going to pay for it. Don't worry about it.
Oh, it's got Discovery Capital has George Soros in it and Julian Robertson.
There you go.
And they're called the Tiger Cub. Oh, so the secret government, the people that are the shadow government.
This is these are
their
the
money.
These are the people who really run the government, and they're showing you that they run the government because they got Trump and Bessent to give $60 billion to a failed state.
To bail out George Soros.
To bail out George Soros and this other billionaire. That's what this is about.
You getting the game yet?
Now
everyone?
You get the game. And by the way, this probably would have happened whether it was Joe Biden or Donald Trump. I'm not saying that Trump is worse than the Democrats are just as horrible. They would have done the same thing. They're still rubber stamping money to Israel and Ukraine and wherever else they can spend money.
Listen, there's voting and stuff. It's just you don't get to do any of that. You get to do a stupid play they put on for you.
So during the question and answer session with Milei and Trump, the press following the meeting, Trump admitted that the bailout for Argentina would be of little benefit to America. He even said, it's not going to make a big difference for our country.
Boy, it will harm it, actually.
$60 billion would make a big difference if you spent it in America.
It's destroying our beef industry and also anybody with soybeans because they can't sell
They're screwing over our soybean fires. It's a huge problem.
It's going to kill the Republicans.
So this is actually having a big effect in America. That's a lie because it's screwing our soybean farmers, screwed them, and it's also screwing our beef farmers, which I'm going to show you in the next segment. On September, imagine if they took that $60 billion and instead of giving it to Argentina, which is basically just to bail out George Soros and that other billionaire Citron, imagine if they took that and gave $2 billion to the top 30 cities in America. Imagine what your city could do with $2 billion. We could build brand new sports stadiums in every city in America with a sports stadium. Imagine how many jobs that would create. Imagine how many jobs that would create. There's a lot more we could do with that money. I'm going to show you in a second. But on September 29th, they reported that the bailout would immensely benefit billionaire hedge fund manager Citron, a personal friend and former colleague of Bessent. A subsequent information report revealed that Citron was in contact with Bessent about the bailout before it was announced. So this is 100% corruption. Popular Information's reporting was confirmed by the New York Times on October 9th. And here it is. Mr. Citron, the founder of Discovery Capital Management, has made Latin America his biggest bet in the world, and Argentina is the fund's biggest investment in the region. Mr. Citron has said that when he worked with Mr. Bessent under Mr. Soros in 2013, it's all a big club, he convinced them to make their now famous bet against the Japanese yen, and that he was responsible for most of the bonus that Mr. Bessent earned. So he got a big bonus when they shorted the yen, and this guy Citron was responsible for your current Secretary of the Treasury, Bessent, for making all his money. Two people familiar with the deal said Mr. Citron was close contact with Mr. Bessent in the lead up to the Treasury announcement last month, arguing that if Argentina's currency crashed, so too would the political fortunes of Mr. Milei. So they want to make sure that Milei stays the president because he's now super unpopular because everything he's done has unraveled and screwed their own country. But if they want to make sure he stays president, so they're going to, because they want to continue the economic hitmen, the George Soros, Citron, they all want to continue to be able to extract wealth from Argentina. And if they elect a socialist, that game's all over. So they got to keep this Milei, who's a corrupt piece of garbage, as their president, and Donald Trump and Scott Bessent are going to make sure it happens. This reporting has changed the narrative about the motivations behind the U.S. bailout of Argentina. Previously, media outlets attributed it solely to the ideological alignment of Trump and Milei. That's not it, because Trump doesn't have a real ideology. Now, CNN is noting how Citron would benefit in its... so here it is. The bailout would deliver a major windfall to Rob Citron, a billionaire hedge fund manager with significant investments in Argentina. Bessent's personal and professional relationship with Citron has spanned decades. Decades.
Why are they making it like his hedge fund isn't in it and just him? You see what they're doing?
Yes. They're right. Yep.
Oh, it's that bad man Citron. Not all of us in on this together.
So Elizabeth Warren, who's also a corrupt piece of garbage, said that Trump promised America first, but he's putting himself and his billionaire buddies first and sticking America's with the bill. She introduced legislation with 7 other senators to block the bailout. During the press availability, Trump dismissed the concerns of American soybean farmers about Argentina. China has boycotted American soybeans as part of the ongoing trade dispute. So now China's not buying soybeans from America. They're buying it from Argentina, screwing over United States soybean farmers. Just so you know, they're crashing. Argentina has taken advantage by eliminating its export tax. And then, so they got rid of their export tax. So if you want to buy soybeans from Argentina, there would be a tax on it. They got rid of it so China can buy all their soybeans. So instead of China buying it from the United States, they're now buying it from Argentina with no tariffs whatsoever. None. Do you see what's happening? This has had a devastating impact on American soybean farmers. It's not going to mean anything in the end. Trump said of the oh, really? Well, tell that to the farmers, because while farmers struggle to survive and the federal government is shut down, Milei is riding high thanks to the cash infusion from Trump administration. There will be an avalanche of dollars, Milei said in a radio interview. We'll have dollars pouring out of our ears, Milei said. And you remember this, Warren Gunnels said, can't stop thinking about Elon Musk spending $290 million to elect Trump, becoming $178 billion richer since Election Day, and being cheered on by Argentina's president as Elon takes a chainsaw to Medicaid and Social Security, all while Trump gives Argentina a $40 billion bailout. It's actually 60. Here's a short list of programs, many of which Trump has cut, that the $40 billion handout he's giving to Argentina could have paid for. It could have paid for all the subsidies for the Obamacare that they're now cutting, which is hurting a lot of MAGA people, and it's going to double their health insurance premiums. It could have paid for all the SNAP benefits, which is food stamps, and all the Medicare cuts, which is health care, and it could have paid for affordable student loan repayment. So that's what they could have spent that $40 billion on instead. It could have spent it on Americans who needed health care, who need food, who also need student loan repayment help. It could have done all that, but we're not doing that. We're just cutting that for people in America while we give that money to a foreign country. Again, this is America last. This is billionaires first, Argentina first, Israel first, Ukraine first, and fuck America.
We're the left. We got to fight the left and George Soros, and also bail out George Soros.
Yes.
And fuck you while we do it. Are you loyal to MAGA?
Yep. MAGA, because Trump is not loyal to MAGA. Trump is loyal to George Soros and the billionaire class. So here's what we could have paid for. It could have paid for SNAP, which is food stamps. It's going to cause so when Trump cut the food stamps, it's going to cause a sharp rise in hunger, totaling $186 billion over the next 10 years, roughly $19 billion a year on average. So Trump's handout to Milei could have paid for another 2 years of full food stamps benefits at a time of steeply rising grocery prices. The sum Milei is getting from Trump is also nearly the same amount, $45 billion, that Trump Big, beautiful bill cut from Medicare next year. According to the CBO, it's more than 1 year's worth of cuts on average, $30.7 billion, that Trump made to turn student loan repayment more unaffordable. It could have also paid for another year of various tax credits for providing renewable energy, whose repeal by Trump is set to drive up utility bills. That's that sum that Trump is so cavalierly tossing over the southern border also happens to be more than a quarter of the relatively measly $150 billion his billionaire friend Elon Musk saved in government spending. So you get that? Remember that Doge saved $150 billion, even though they didn't stop spending that $150 billion. What they did was they just gave that $150 billion to the Pentagon. Just so you know, Doge saved zero money, zero. They didn't stop. They didn't cut that spending from the U.S. Government spending at all. In fact, they put another $50 billion on top of it.
In fact, Lutnick punched Elon Musk in his face, and they fired him, and everybody acted like somehow Elon failed that when clearly it was never a real thing.
So just recall that Elon Musk did this and made what can only be generously be called a chip in the federal deficit by decimating the federal government, throwing hundreds of thousands of Americans out of work, plunging the Social Security Administration into chaos, gutting cancer treatment research, undermining the U.S. Postal Service, and killing the agency that funds Meals on Wheels. That's food for old people and helps the elderly and disabled more generally to rename just. So we could have given that money to America. We could have given it to our senior citizens. We could have given it to our students. We could have given it to MAGA people who are working and can't afford their health care without a subsidy. We could have done all those things. We're doing none of them. Trump is continuing to rise, to explode the deficit, and while funneling money to his billionaire class people. Doesn't give a crap about America. And here's Trump being asked about it. So, he's being asked about, why are you doing this for Argentina? You're screwing over American. I'm going to get to this in the next segment. He's screwing over American cattle farmers and American soybean farmers and our own treasury. And he was asked about this. Listen to what he says.
Question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as they are
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can. But don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying.
Why do I care? Why does
take
MAGA,
Israel with you? Why
do I care? Why does MAGA care? So a country has been poorly managed by a horrible president, and they're going to go bankrupt, and they're going to get a new president. And why do we care? They're dying. Who cares? So he's showing that he cares more about a foreign country than he does the United States, and that's a fact. So there's no getting around. Trump is not doing anything like he promised to do.
But stop saying Argentina's fine, Jimmy.
Yeah. So
he said.
Argentina.
Who cares?
Yeah. Who cares? Who cares? And so that's just Trump lying to you. He's doing it to bail out George Soros, his buddy Citron, and Bessent. That's why they're doing this. Okay. Yeah. And if you'd like to hear my jokes about this, come see me. We're going to be in Australia. We have all new shows. So if they were sold out before, go back. You'll get your tickets now. We're going to be in Burbank the day after Thanksgiving. That's a Friday. Everybody's off. Come see us do stand-up comedy at Flappers in Burbank on November 28th. December 6th in Pottstown. January 11th, we'll be in Waikiki at Blue Note. Ticket link coming soon. And then January 30th, we're going to be at the Comedy Store here in Los Angeles. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Hey, let me ask you something. How much time do you spend every day on your web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing, endless tabs? It's a lot, right? Well, there's a new AI web browser from Perplexity called Comet that is completely changing the way you're able to interact with your browser. Using Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things from across the internet. Yes, do things for you, not just give you answers. You can ask Comet to handle tasks for you, and it literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls just like you would to get things done for you in the background while you go about your day. Comet can shop for you, make reservations, it could book travel, summarize articles or videos, send emails, schedule meetings, and a lot more to make your life a lot easier. It can even help you determine, let's say I wanted to go, I wanted to take a trip. So let's say I ask Comet, hey, plan me a trip from Louisville, Kentucky to, let's say, Austin, Texas, right? So it'll start doing that. So it starts to go through whatever it does, all its AI stuff. It starts to figure out a nice a route, or do you say route? And so there it is. It's Austin, Texas.
I say route.
I say route.
Yeah.
Or route. And so there
Whatever
it
you
is.
like.
So there's the route, right? So, but then let's say I asked it, let's say I needed to ask it another question. Hey, can you show me stops for every Costco that's along the way so I can buy a hot dog, right? You know how Costco has their hot dogs? So then what it does, it starts to go through it, and it starts to figure out where all the Costcos are along the way. So boom, it starts to show you where all the Costcos are. And it'll also tell you how much I have to spend if I want to stop at each Costco and buy a hot dog. It figures it out. So there it is, plotting out all the Costcos. Look at that. It is kind of amazing. A lot of Costcos. Turns out there's 7. I bet you there's 7 Costcos in between Louisville and Austin, Texas on this route. So, you see how it's searching? It does all this stuff, but it does it without, you don't have to be there to do it. Then let's say, hey, if I buy a hot dog at each of those locations, how much will it cost me? It's going to figure it out for me because they're only $1.50 each. If I stop at each one of them, I think it's going to be, it's going to cost $7.50. Each hot dog combo is just $1.50 at Costco in the U.S., even in 2025. So that's the beauty. That's pretty cool, right? Download Perplexity's new AI web browser, Comet, by heading to pplx.ai/Dore and let your browser work for you. Plus, right now, when you download Comet, you get a month of Rumble Premium for free. That's pplx.ai/Dore. Go now and take back your time online. Come see us in Australia. Second show's added in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. We'll see you in Burbank, California, the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday. And then Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. Plus, January 11th, we're going to be in Waikiki at the Blue Note. Tickets not available yet for them, but go to jimmydore.com for a link for all the other tickets.